Sovereign, Fall of Wormwood. As you see in front of me, 10 asymmetric faction decks that you're going to be utilizing, trying to just, well, score 10 points. Chris, what's different about this one? Why are you talking about this? Why do you love it so much? Wow. Well, spoilers there, right? Let's go. You know I'm biased towards this type of thing, but what makes it stand out? What makes it different? And what do you need to know? This is a fun game. This is a really fun game, folks. If you like what I like, if you're interested at all in that style of things, let's talk. This is actually very precariously sitting on edge right now. So if I just bump the table, they're going to fall over, right? So what do you need to know about this game? This isn't going to be a rules explanation video. This isn't going to be a playthrough video. The company did 2 of those already. Wonderfully done. So much so that I don't feel the need to reiterate any of that and just say go watch it. But if you want to know a little bit, let's talk and then talk about the rest, right? As I mentioned, right? 10 asymmetric decks. And these decks are divided up into 2 separate piles, if you will. These piles encompass your 30 unique cards and then your 20 echoes on this side of things. You need these echoes because if you get these echoes, you need 10 to win. That's the game. You need 10 to win. Boom. But it's doing it in a different way. It's doing it in sort of a lane battling-esque, resource management driven, with the core being the asymmetry of the other half that you're going to be dealing with, right? And look at this, right? These are almost all unique. And so therein lies the great fun of this. And you'll notice that as I lay these down, flip side, they also are the same. Because as we move these to the side, so we have a little bit more space for the cards in front of me, this is the main tracking mechanism that you're going to be using for half of the game. Well, Chris, you just mentioned I have to get 10 of these echoes. How do I get 10 of these echoes? You build them or you steal them, folks. That is the difference in this asymmetric dueler. Because we're not used to seeing that. We're not used to having that as a mechanic in these games, right? It's I battle you, I do damage to you, you do damage to me, slugfest it out back and forth, right? So if you're looking for something different right now, this is what you're looking for, right? I said previously, this reminds me of Singularity, EXE, the other head-to-head dueling game that I covered last year. And I'm not going to make the mechanical comparison, but what I'm saying in that sense is this is taking the tropes, the cliches of the head-to-head duelers that you're familiar with whatever style, whatever genre, whatever other games you prefer, and it's, well, flipping them on their heads. Oh, look what he did there. Clever, clever. Because we'll talk about these tokens in a second. You have your Citadel and you have your asymmetric clan power, essentially. And these are separated out by your deck. And this deck is going to be the combination of both of these cards. So what you do is you shuffle them all up and you draw up to 8 every single round. And you're going to be playing and going. And that's the other problem with a lot of games like this, right? Is that, you know, the inevitable culmination of the game comes too late. As I've said with many other games that have left my collection, why did I get rid of it? It wasn't a bad game. It wasn't a game I didn't enjoy playing, but it just was a game that it didn't give me enough moments that make me go, haha, I'm clever. Haha, this is fun. Haha, I'm doing something cool every single turn. And that is what this game provides as you're drawing, because when you draw all of these cards in your hand, right, you're going to have a various combination of all of them as you go, right? Like I have tons of echoes here. And so you're going, okay, well, Chris, well, how do I manage this? Because what you've got is essentially your 2 lanes that are also going to be in front of both of these sides, because you have to choose to protect the base, or you have to choose to protect the forge side of things, if you will. Because on one side, you're going to be just defending the base from attack, essentially your hand from attack. And the other side of things, you're going to be laying these cards down, building them. Because all of them, at the bottom, potentially, have this little value down here of these units, for example, or even the echoes, if we flip this one around, 2. Meaning, when you lay them down, you grab some of your available tokens in this game as you slowly gather a certain number on your citadel at the beginning of every round, 2, and you get to allocate them to cards here. And they get to progress around the edge. And that's why all of these have this symbology on the back side, because it's to lure, it's to tempt, it's to bluff your opponent in saying, did I just put a unit down that I'm going to bring out in a couple turns in order to attack you to do what we'll talk about? Or is this an echo that I've laid down in my mirage of 5 of these? And which one is the one? Because here's the other aspect, right? If you're attacking, this is the main crux of the game. But it has to be done very smartly. It's also done a little bit differently. And we'll talk about why that might be the make it or break it for you of how it sort of battles back and forth. Because if I successfully attack your forge, if I make it through, if I breach your defenses, I get to look at one of those cards. And guess what? If it's an echo, haha, I didn't even know which one was the echo. Boom, first take, YouTube. I get to take it. I get to take it, and not only take it, I get to then put it in front of mine and count that as one of my own victory points. Ooh, that, folks, that's the tricky. And now, you know what? If it's just a unit here, see if we can actually find one. I just randomly drew this. Oh my goodness, right? If it is something else right here, well, then you just look at it, you know what your opponent may be having in store for you in a couple turns. But therein lies the dilemma, right? These all could have been units. And so did I waste my turn? Because you only have one action attack turn every single time. Meaning I can attack the forge over here, which in this case would have been great. Or I can attach the hand. Because maybe instead I laid all of my units down and kept all of my echoes in my hand because I thought you were going to do that, right? Because then if you breach on the other side, you get to potentially deal with some of the cards. And if you can grab one of these echoes successfully, again, you get to steal it and place it in the victory point pile that you're going for. Or, you know what? Fall forward, because you also potentially get to just have them lose a card, discard, it's gone. And so if it's a unit. So that's really freaking good too in terms of culling and controlling. And again, like I said, you draw back up to 8 cards on a turn-by-turn basis. So the slog of getting through this deck, folks, is not there. And the plethora of the availability of both of these, because of the distribution of those cards in the 50 in the first place, 30 and 20, it's coming out hot and heavy. Because that's the other thing I worry about with these asymmetric faction-based games, right? Is that they stay around too long. They stay around too long. You know, Magic the Gathering style, where you're digging through the deck trying to find mana desperately in order to stay alive while your opponent just magically shuffled up. And, you know, if you played that with Magic or Pokemon with the energy cards, you know, you don't want that to happen. And so the split, the ratio of this, well, go big or go home right away, every single hand. Boom. No limitations to what you want to play, how you want to play it. You just go as long as you can supply what is available here, because these are your other main resource tokens. Every single beginning of the round, you add 2 of these to your citadel, and they become everything for you as you're managing. Because on one side, they allow you to forge. They allow you to track this progress and go around. On the other side of things, they are going to be activating many of the cards that are non-units that are available to you on a citadel base side of things. And they're going to be represented by action iconography at the bottom of these cards as you go along. They will buff units. They will give asymmetric abilities buffers here as well, depending on, again, which side they're on. If they're on the citizen side, or if they're on the reverse, the drone side. Because each ability is going to be unique to that, and how you utilize them will depend. Because if you take them off, say a forged ability, if it's an echo, it comes back, but it comes back flipped over. And if it's a unit, well, maybe it just comes back. And so therein lies the management of those resources, because again, you're getting them every turn. As I mentioned, the limitation is not how many cards you're playing, it's how many of these you have available to you and how you want to split them between the building side of things and the ability unit side of things, and just the mitigation strategy as this goes along. And there lies all of these other 10 decks that you see sitting around me, is all of them do it differently, right? And so that is leading me probably into the pros and cons section of this video, meaning, you know what, just like any other asymmetric based game, anything like this, right? You're going to find one that you like the play style of better. You want to be fast, you want to be quick, you want to be dynamic, you go for the Windwalker clans. You want to have a Neo-Genesis Church approach, you know what? Go for it. That is the big thing with this game, is it allows you to adapt. And one of my big criticisms in some of the other contemporaries is you end up getting some of these games with 2 or 3 or 4 factions, and you go, well, Chris, half the factions I don't like, and the other factions I'm kind of okay with. And I hate buying expansions to find the one, right, that fits me, even though the frame of the system in the first place, I really, really enjoy. And so 10. I don't know what else they have in store, but I have 10 difference. So you get the base game and you're going to find it. But again, maybe that also means on the consequent side of things that you're going to have more that you maybe don't prefer. So you know what? High risk, high reward. Now let's talk the other high risk, high reward thing. When we start battling, right? I'm going to use this deck just because I have them all out. What you can see on these cards is you'll see that the left side represents both their attack and their defense here. Yeah, you know what? I cut myself. That's why I'm wearing a band-aid in the video. Very bad cut on my finger, bleeding profusely, blood everywhere. Sorry, side tangent. So what you're doing though in the lanes when they go head to head is you start and they go like this. And you can start to see that these are very well designed already because your attack lines up with your defense, your attack lines up with your defense there. And these tokens are also how, when you summon them, when you finish forging them, you'll notice at the bottom of the cards they each have health points. Now, here's the other twist. You have to have enough from the Citadel down here in order to allocate them to the units in the first place. Meaning, they don't just automatically get 1 or 2 health. Meaning, you have to be able to allocate those drones to them in order to have them out there. And so then the damage is relatively straightforward. But then also where this comes in is that as we draw more cards, you're going to have these cards potentially up to 2 or even 3 in a lane. And so as they go along, if something survives, well, it just moves on to the next and does damage. Defenders have more advantage because all defenders do damage to attackers when they start lining up or passing. The attackers, deal 1-to-1. But that's going to be, they may have strong units, they may have abilities on both sides, but you have to have enough health to get them out there in the first place because this is a maximum health, not a guaranteed health. And that's the other dynamic difference. And that's where the resource utilization down here from the Citadel, which side they're on matters, and how you utilize them matters. You're going to have abilities and factories and units over on the other side. You're going to have augments that can adjust the abilities that are going to be available, +1 armor and pierce. This unit is slow. If it deals combat damage, it becomes attached to that unit. So again, dynamics are completely different as a whole. To give you an example of a facility card here, Colony. If a unit you control loses health, you may place the token here instead of scrapping it. Can't remove tokens, but for every 4 tokens there, citizens, gain 1 attack. That's really nice. So how many of these do you resource allocate and forge? By needing to then place them on the back versus being able to keep them on the other side and being able to then place them in the units. The nice way that this game allows that to be mitigated is that when you reach the forging of these, you don't have to take them out of the forge. You can just slide this to the center and have it represent that this is done and it's waiting, and I'm going to choose the turn it comes out. It's also a bluffing mechanism as well, because you're going to have cards that only cost 2 to forge, similar to the Echoes in the first place that only cost 2. But if I'm leaving it there, would I leave a victory point there? Because the other dynamic that you have to realize is that you can't take things out unless you're in the right phase. So unless you're in the forge phase, you can't take them out of there. So once you leave them in there, you better hope you played your cards right, literally and metaphorically speaking, because they might be stuck there until your next time around. And if someone's getting a little bit gutsy and courageous, you might pay for it as well, with a victory being snatched from your jaws. And therein lies the fun of this game. that's it, right? You know, you've got your 6-phase summary card here, you know, the growth, the upkeep, the forge, the combat, the move, and the draw, because, you know, after you combat, you can switch, you know, what order they're in, because, you know, you have to go in that order. You don't have to choose all the units to go and attack, but you can if you want. So, right? Those are the dynamics of this game. Again, some people aren't going to like this attack system. Some people aren't going to like, you know, just the way you get to breach. I think it's brilliant. I think it flips things on our head. We're used to just, I deal damage to you and you just, you know what, die. And that's going to be here, but it's going to be attack every time. Mitigate as much as possible. Which side am I attacking on? Did I attack the right side or the wrong side this time? Were you bluffing and putting your units in front of a fake forge area when you had them all sitting in your hand, or vice versa? And that's clever. And there's nothing I like better in a game that makes me feel clever and fun at the same time. Are they all balanced? Are they all as good as each other? I don't have a freaking clue, right? I don't care. I don't care. And some of you are going to, well, Chris, we have to have the perfect asymmetry. You know, it has to be, you know what? If you want to play this super competitive, you could. But I'd also make the argument that these types of games probably aren't for you in the first place, and you need to go look elsewhere. But if you just want something that's going to be close enough that you don't worry about it, and you want to just have a good freaking time with asymmetry and lack of overhead, you know what? Because that's my other fear with this game, or games in this, right? Is you're trying to reinvent the wheel. And by reinventing the wheel, you're not only reinventing it, you're putting terminology that's unnecessary. You're adding scope creep mechanistically in terms of having to just remember this much overhead wise, while also making it a bigger barrier to entry. I can play this game with my wife, and she hates those types of games. She hates them. She does not like to play them with me. And this one isn't too much. And that's always my fear when I reintroduce new games to our table. So all in all, am I happy with this? Freaking heck yes. Are you going to like it? Well, you may, but again, you may not. Because it's doing things in a slightly different way. Change is scary. Change is not always as appealing. Innovation does not always breed better. Innovation does not always breed happiness in our hobby. But truth be told, am I happy with what they've done here and here with all of these? Yes, very much so. So that is Sovereign Fall of Wormwood. Go check it out on crowdfunding. If you're like me with these things, I think it's worth a heavy look-see. Go check it out. Go check out the gameplay that the designer put out. Check out the rule book in terms of the video of how to play. Very, very smooth. I covered the most basic edges of this. There's some dynamic differences in how you're moving some of these tokens around between areas, and when you flip them over and when you don't, and how many times you can activate some of the facility cards, multiple times if it's a colon, but then also if it's an arrow, then, you know, you put the tokens on there and it stays active as long as there are tokens on there, but then you only remove some of these tokens once per round if they're over on the facility. I'm not going to cover all that stuff. You don't need to know that. That's not the make it or break it, right? That's the nuance. That's the learn to actually how to play, but that's not the, this isn't going to decide whether or not this is right for me style of things. So there you go. Thank you. Prototype. They sent it to me to talk about. Check it out if you're interested. As always, let me know in the comments down below. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. It's a good game. It's a really good game. You should check it out. And truth be told, I sliced this thing open really deep like a week ago. And it bled. I did it cutting stems off of flowers I got my wife for her birthday. No good deed, right? Whew. There you go.